Clang, clang, clang with the trolley.
Hey, thanks for clicking in. I'm Jason Crawford Samuel,
And I'm Patrick J. Golden.
and this is Backstage Banter. Now you might wonder to yourself, what is Backstage Banter? Well, it's a video of reviews for shows that Backstage Baltimore has reviewed. And you might say, what is Backstage Baltimore? Well, it is a new review site for theater and other artsy events in the Baltimore metropolitan area. So we have the pleasure of having for our inaugural Backstage Banter, we're going to be talking about Godspell. Now, Godspell is based on the Gospel of Matthew in the Bible, and it was words and music by Stephen Schwartz, book by John Michael Tabalak, and it had its off-Broadway debut in 1971 and its Broadway debut in 1976. Now, there's been multiple revivals off-Broadway and on Broadway over the last, 40 years or so. And the most recent one was in 2011 with the gorgeous Hunter Parrish. And right now it's playing at Cockpit in Court, Summer Theater, and it is directed by James Honeycutt, directed and choreographed by James Honeycutt, Baltimore Community Theater native. It is musically directed by Nathan Scavilla and co-choreographed by Danielle Sten Guillermo. We have set design by Jason Randolph, lighting design by Helen Garcia Alton, sound design by Jacob Yurtes, and costumes by James J. Fashing. Now, we had the pleasure of seeing this just this past weekend. And let's start off with some technical aspects. Let's talk about the set. When I walked in the theater, I was pleasantly surprised. Godspell is not a big show. It's not a huge show, but the stage at Cockpit is big. However, I think Jason Randolph hit the nail on the head with this set. It was very basic. It was simple, but it was artistic. It very much reminded me of a black box theater. It had two staircases on either side going up to a platform that sat over the entrance and exit of the stage with sliding glass doors. It was really elegant for what it was. What do you think?
I was very happy with the set. I mean, with Godspell, it's a smaller show, and shows like that, you don't want a big, extravagant set. You can tend to distract the audience from what's actually happening on the stage.
Correct.
Also, something else I noticed about the set was when I first walked in, I thought it was just painted solid flat black. And as the lights came up and went throughout the show, I noticed that was actually a lighter gray paint around and fade into the darkness, and it did very well actually to capture the light and reflect it back to the audience, so it made the whole stage seem brighter when the light was there, instead of just against a black backdrop.
So he hit the nail on the head. He did a really good job with the set.
Yes.
Had a lot of bells and whistles, which is perfect for Godspell. Going on to sound and lights. Again, not a huge show, not a lot of sound effects going on, not a lot of lighting going on. But for what they had, it was okay. Now, I will say the night that we saw this production, I'm not sure, sound may have been having some issues, but there were definitely balancing problems between the cast and the band, or the pit band. The pit band was very good, by the way. But there were definitely balancing issues with that, where there were certain parts where I couldn't hear, what the cast was saying. If I didn't know the show, I'd probably been lost, and vice versa. There were times when the cast overpowered the band. What do you think?
I'm right there with you on that. Another thing I noticed too, it just seemed like the levels with the performers themselves, a lot of times they would just kind of fade into each other in the ensemble numbers, which of course you want everyone to blend together, but when, say, the lead might fade away and then the ensemble, what they're saying, comes out more so, then you lose their words. But I'm sure it was just technical difficulties, not an oversight.
Right. Again, I just hope they fix the levels, by the end of the run. Otherwise. And lights, not a lot going on. There were some very pretty colors with on the back of the stage, and there were some projections that were used. And I'll throw that into lights and sound. The projection that were used, I believe, were on two ends of the spectrum. They were either not helping the action along at all, or they were taking attention away from the action on the stage. Quite frankly, I believe the projections could be cut. I understand that a lot of productions are using projection these days, but you gotta be careful with them too. You can't let them overpower the show itself. What say you?
Well, let's just hit lights real quick. Lights were very good. The only, I guess, critique I would have is it seemed like, you know, the lights were always on, except for one part where, and it was very nicely done. They just went out while the song was going on, but it was meant to be, not just a difficulty. It did seem just fairly dark, though.
Yeah.
Like, it was colorful, but it almost just felt like I was watching the show outside of dusk.
There's a lot of overhead lighting
Yes.
coming down, so a lot of shadows going on.
And then going on to projections, completely agree with what you said. I did find myself distracted by the projections when they were going on. The only plus I could even think to of that is, like you mentioned, the cockpit stage is big, so it's also very high. And with that being said, it did fill up the screen itself filled up the top half.
Right.
Where, I mean, I don't know if that was necessary, but it did fill in. But otherwise, projections I did find personally a little distracting in this.
Gotcha. All right, going on to James Honeycutt's job as the director. Now, James Honeycutt, I know James Honeycutt. I've worked with James Honeycutt, and I believe he is a fantastic director. He is a wonderful director to work with. He's a great performer to work with. I would even go as far to say he is a revered Baltimore County or Baltimore Community Theater director. Everyone loves working with him. This production, I had a few points that I wanted to touch on with this production. One of the main points is that with Godspell, it's flexible to have whatever theme you want. Godspell isn't married to just one theme, but it is, again, it's a 40-plus-year-old show. So any director can choose whatever he or she sees fit as a theme. However, with this particular production at Cockpit, I myself could not find a cohesive vision or a cohesive theme. What do you think?
No, I couldn't find one either. The biggest thing that stuck out was when the show opened. It said philosophical debate 2K16, and they did all Tower of Babel as a political debate. But if that was to initiate a tone or a set for the theme,
It didn't.
It for me it did not.
It didn't.
And then if there was a major overarching theme that wasn't that, and that was very abstract, then it must have just gone right over my head, because I didn't catch anything when it came to that.
No, you're not alone. I didn't catch a cohesive theme that went along with it. It was a fun show overall. It looked good. The actors got knew their stuff, but I couldn't find that theme that I like for Godspell. Also, there were a couple of choices, curious choices that James made, and one was breaking that fourth wall. Usually in Godspell, the characters that are telling the parables are talking to each other. They're telling the other castmates about the stories that are going on. But in this one, the cast member stepped up to the front and was talking to the audience. Now, Godspell has always been a little preachy to me anyway. The book. Music, I can sit and listen to music for days, but the book has always been a little preachy. It's a religious theme. Can't help it. That's fine. But
Bible.
as they stepped forward and were giving us the parables, the audience, I felt like I was sitting in church on a Sunday listening to a homily, and that just drove that preachiness home for me. What do you think?
Well, personally, Godspell, oddly enough, is one of my favorite shows. But for me, it's about the music. I love the music. I could throw out the book. No offense to Stephen Schwartz, of course. But yeah,
He wrote the music, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a plus to him as well. But no, I agree. It is very preachy, and the thing with Gospel is, I mean, I know it's not Stations of the Cross, and it's not a passion play per se, because it's not necessarily Jesus' last days, but this is him and his disciples. And even though it's not like a chronological order, it's a voyeur on what's going on there, not them talking to us. We're not there with them, we're watching them.
Right. Well, as you were saying that, the music is the best aspect of this show for me, just in general. So going on with the music and vocals, I think Nathan Scavilla did a fine job with this cast. They did have harmony issues, though. I will say that. Individually, each and every one of these performers were a powerhouse. They had what it took. They had great voices. I knew from the get, from Tower of Babel, the opening number, that we were dealing with amazing voices. What do you think?
They were all great on their own, and together they were good, but like you said, the harmony issues, and I don't want to presume to know what went on during rehearsals, but like honestly myself, I do play musical theater, love to sing, I like to think I'm a good singer, I'm horrible at harmonies, but I know that, and I find a way around it. When it comes to this, if they were having harmony issues in rehearsals towards the later part before the show opened, I would have just said go to unison, the ones that can hit harmony, go right ahead. But it also could have been a leveling sound issue and things with the pit. Anything could have happened. So
overall, it all sounded fine. It all sounded pretty good. But again, individually, everyone's powerhouse. Harmonies maybe could have been tightened up a little bit. Going on to choreography. This was choreographed by James Honeycutt and co-choreographed by Danielle Stan Guillermo. And I believe with this choreography, there was a lot going on. Choreography was pretty good. I thought maybe I saw some elements of hip hop, but I couldn't be sure because there were so many stylistic things going on with the choreography. And I believe that the cast probably would have benefited from maybe one or two more choreography rehearsals. But again, if the hip hop was there to update it, I'm assuming they wanted to update this. And like I said, I saw certain elements. I am not a dancer at all, but I thought I saw certain aspects of hip hop there. If they were very subtle, or there were so many styles there that maybe I just lost it. What do you think?
Choreography wise, I think I did catch a hint of it, but it didn't stand out as hip hop compared to everything else. There definitely was some beatboxing right before a parable. I can't remember which one, but that was there, and I think that coincided with it.
And I think that was part of the updating.
Yes.
And the modernization of this.
When it comes to choreography, it was good choreography. It could have been a little tighter, but that could have been from any number of reasons. But honestly, with a show like Godspell, choreography's nice. In a musical theater, you always want movement, but you don't need the I don't know, say you're doing Phantom of the Opera kind of, that amount of dancing. You don't necessarily need that in Godspell. It can just be simple movements. But it was good. It was good choreography.
It was good all around. Like I said, they may have benefited from another one or two choreography rehearsals, but all in all, everything looked pretty good for it. Fit well for Godspell. All right, getting into the performances. Ryan Slattery was playing Jesus, and Jake Zaranko was playing John the Baptist / Judas. All right, these are the two that were they're pretty much main guys in the show. Although it is an ensemble piece, I hesitate to say that there are leads in this because it is a complete ensemble piece. But Jesus and John the Baptist / Judas, they're the ones that are kind of leading through this. Ryan Slattery as Jesus, I believe, was a good fit. He had a good look. Just in general, his manner was perfect for the role. He had a very soft, gentle manner. There were some, he had a beautiful voice. I think he hit the nail on the head with that. He had Save the People, All for the Best. Alas for You was my only critique that I had with him. Since he had that gentle manner, I think Alas for You, he chose to take it a little more subtly, where I like that more intense, the Alas for You number. Much more intense. It's very intense. But Beautiful City, he hit perfectly. He did that flawlessly. And the arrangement was just vocals and piano. Simple, but he did it flawlessly. What do you think of Ryan's performance?
Oh, Ryan was great. He had a good voice. Same thing with the last year. I would like it a little more intense, a little more power to it, but it was good. And he could move too with the rest of them with the choreography. He wasn't just a voice. He could definitely move along with them.
Good. Jake Zaranko as John the Baptist and Judas. He's one of the. He comes in from the back with that traditional conch shell, and he's singing "Prepare Ye." I believe he had a very nice voice. He had a very nice presence. At points, he seemed a little stiff. He seemed a little, uncomfortable on stage. And his chemistry with Ryan as Jesus, unfortunately, I think, was nil to none. I'd like to have those two go out or something, outside of this production, have a drink or something.
Right.
But and that made it difficult for that. But his performance, on the whole, was, I think, very good. He did what he needed to do. He had the choreography as well. He was a good mover. And I just think that there are certain points where he was just a little stiff for me. But otherwise, did a great job. What do you think?
No, I agree with that. There were times where, lack of a better term, he looked a little awkward on stage with what he was doing and all that. And to touch on the chemistry bit, there did seem to be a strained chemistry there, but the thing is, especially with those two characters, Jesus and Judas are best friends. And that's what makes the spoiler alert, the betrayal at the end, this big emotional thing.
And I didn't get that at the end because their chemistry was not
right. It almost, I don't want to assume, it almost seemed like these guys didn't like each other off stage.
No, I would buy that. I would.
Yeah.
All right, and then for the rest of the cast, we had the female ensemble. This was a heavy female ensemble in this one. We had Elisa Bell, who performed Bless the Lord. We had Nicole Smith, who performed Learn Your Lessons Well. We had Allie McLaughlin, who performed Day by Day. Anna Struerman, who performed By My Side. Samantha Ross, Turn Back, Oh Man. And Aaron Sullivan, Light of the World. Now, again, each and every one of these ladies, powerhouses individually. They all had very good voices, some very strong voices. I will touch on a couple of them. Elisa Bell. Loved her rendition of Bless the Lord. I would like to have had her have a little more of a belt. She hit the notes perfectly, but I would love to have heard them out in the street.
Right.
Especially for that song. But had a lovely voice. Anna Struerman, who did By My Side. Now that's a haunting song as it is. Anna had a very unique voice. She sounds very classical, very trained for me. But it fit well because it's a haunting number as it is. And she had like an alto, mezzo-soprano thing going on. And it almost reminded me of Audra McDonald, who is that trained classical singer, but brings that to Broadway. And that's what that kind of was reminiscent of. But my standout for me was Samantha Ross, who did Turn Back, Oh Man. Now this young lady, she started in the back of the theater, came all the way up, but every moment that she was singing or she was performing, she caught my attention. That's the reason that she was a standout for me. She had fun. It was a sexy, fun number, Turn Back, Oh Man. And, she looks perfect for the part. And again, she kept my attention through the whole thing. What about you? Any of these ladies that you want to remark on?
I think my standout would be Nicole Smith's Learn Your Lessons Well. I liked that number a lot. It's not usually one of my favorites. It's
Oh yeah, Turn Back, Oh Man's not my favorite.
Yeah, so the way she brought out the ukulele in the beginning, which I think is traditional, but she actually played it, which was very nice. And then the fact that number starts out slow and then picks up. The person doing that song has to lead the rest of them, and she did really well at that. That number was high energy, a lot of power, and she was able to, for herself and the rest of the ensemble, up and through it. It was great, in my opinion.
Good, yeah. Overall, ladies did a fantastic job. Moving on to the men. There's only two other guys aside from Jesus and John the Baptist / Judas, and that was Kevin James Logan, and Josh Schaff. Kevin James Logan performed All Good Gifts, and Josh Schaff performed the 11 o'clock number, We Beseech Thee. I'll start with Kevin James Logan, who performed All Good Gifts. Now, I will admit, All Good Gifts is probably my favorite number in this show. So, I can be critical already. But it's a number that I've performed, that I've, helped people perform. Kevin James Logan is a wonderful singer. Yeah, he hits the notes perfectly. He knows what he's doing. He gets out there and he does what he needs to do with the song. However, with All Good Gifts, that's a song you need to take to church. Towards the end of that, you need to take that to church. That's not even just hitting the notes. That's a feeling down in your belly that has to come out. And I didn't quite get that from James. Now, he performed the song, very successfully. I would like to have had that feeling, though. That more of just that guttural, at the end, taking it to church. What'd you think of Kevin's performance?
I liked it, but I'm on the same page with you, and the same with Elisa. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name.
That's right. Pronounce it either.
But no, same thing with her song. It's it's just especially towards the end, it's got to be there, that power, that intensity, and it just lacked. But that's a personal opinion. I don't know what the musical director or James Honeycutt, the director, said about it. So.
Right. All right, and then Josh Shaw for We Beseech Thee, which is one of the, again, these are my two favorite numbers. We Beseech Thee is just a fun number. I will admit, I can't stand that sound thing in the middle of that number, the zips and whatever it is nowadays. I think it changed to update. But he looked to have a great time with this number. Okay. Now I don't know if it was just the costume, if it was the way he looked. He looked like the kid brother of the production. Now he was wearing these overalls, things, and chucks and everything. So he looked like a kid, but he looked like he was having a really, really good time with this number. Now I would like to have a little more enunciation and diction from him throughout, but he looked like he was having a really, really good time with this number, and he led the whole cast in this. So, and conversely, they had a really good time. What do you think of his performance?
Well, definitely, I gotta say, with the kid brother thing is spot on, which is funny because he's also the tallest member of the cast. I think he towers over everybody else. But when it came to that number and throughout, he just had this innocence and almost fun-lovingness to him, and it showed in that number. He just had fun with it. He went, and it was high energy all the way through. He carried that and picked them up and took them through it with him, and it was really good. It was a very enjoyable number.
It was an 11 o'clock number.
Absolutely.
All right, so overall opinion. I'll let you go first. What did you think of Godspell at Cockpit and Court?
So it was different than what I've normally seen before, but different isn't bad. I enjoyed it for the most part. It was very good. It was a different take on it than what I'm used to, but I liked it.
Good. Yeah, I'll have to repeat. I think it was a very good show overall. It had its challenges, but it worked through them. And one thing I did want to mention, the cast of this show, from the get, they gave 100%. You could see it in their eyes and what they were doing. On stage, they're dancing, they gave 100%, and I've got to respect that. That made the show just all the better, them doing that. But I recommend you go see the show. If you are a theater lover or a friend of the theater, you got to see Godspell. Why not go see it over at Cockpit and Court? It's running to June 26th, and it has Friday, Saturday, and Sunday showings. You can go online to www.ccbcmd.edu and just type in Cockpit and Court, and it'll take you right to their page to get tickets. And check it out. Now, that's what I thought about it. What do you think? Why don't you go ahead and comment below and give us a thumbs up. Also, if you want a more detailed review, why don't you go to www.backstagebaltimore.wordpress.com and check out our reviews there. And if you can, give us a like on Facebook. Till then, we'll see you next time on Backstage Banter. Thanks for clicking in.
Clang, clang, clang went the trolley. Ding, ding, ding went the bell. Sing, sing, sing went my heartstrings.